Welcome to Death and Aliens, an in-depth look at horror and sci-fi TV from two friends who vaguely know what they're doing. I'm MK.
And I'm Courtney.
And Courtney, before I ask you how you
Oh
are, I
God.
just no. I just wanted to say something. So it's been about 2 weeks since Courtney and I recorded,
Mhm.
and I was planning on starting this episode with a tribute, because Obi Nadefo, who plays the oh God, I can never think of the character's name, but the Jaffa who helps Braytak and Teal'c, the other warrior, the one who lost his legs in the car accident, he passed away earlier this month. And so I was all ready to start this episode with a tribute to one of our lost Stargate actors. But unfortunately, also about an
Oh,
hour and a half ago, we got the news that James Earl Jones passed away today as well. And
yeah.
he is not only just a legend of all legends, he also is a Stargate alum. And so I
Ooh, I
remember
didn't realize
he
that.
was Unas in
Oh,
season
that's right. I
one.
did know that. I forgot. I forgot
Yeah.
that.
So I literally didn't cry when I was telling my mom about it, and I didn't cry when I was talking to Dan about it, and now I just
Now's the time.
now's the time when I lose it.
I
Um,
know. Yeah, I saw that. It's what a rough time. Well, there'll be one
so
more.
yeah,
It comes in
so
threes, so
I did not realize he was 93. Like I knew he was old, like and getting up
yeah.
there. Did not realize he was 93 until I read the article about it. But yeah, so I just wanted to start by saying Kelmate, which is thank you to our fallen Jaffa. So
Yeah.
now that I've started us on the most depressing way we could ever start a podcast,
Right.
how are you?
I'm just well now sad, but other than that, I'm okay. I'm I know I look like I'm in a different environment, but I'm not. This is my room. So I'm in New Orleans currently, but when you hear this, I won't be. So good luck finding me. Um, yeah, I'm okay. I've been again traveling. Since I saw you, I came home for a week. Oh, nope, we talked then. We talked when I was home for a week,
Yes.
right? Okay,
Yes.
cool, cool, cool. I just watched here ADHD in action. I just watched a video before we got on that Rachel sent me, and it says there's always a squirrel friend and an elephant friend, and one that's like, oh, we should try this new restaurant. It's like we went there a month ago, like, and I feel like that's me every time I talk. I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. It's like you've known about that for 3 years. I don't
Correct.
know.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we talked. And then I left and went to Pacific Northwest. And I say that because we were not in any one place for very long. It was very fun. We went to the Tumbleweed Fest in Richland because Caitlin was playing it. And I volunteered because, I cannot control myself. So I ended up doing like 10-hour days, like volunteering for this festival. But it was so much fun. The people were so nice. It was literally 100 degrees. I thought I was leaving the heat. It was
Right. The
literally
Pacific
100
Northwest is
degrees.
not known for being warm.
Right. So we were in Richland, which is about 3 hours out of Portland and Seattle to the east. And I guess that's where it gets hot. I don't, I got overheated the last day of the festival and I forgot to eat. It was a situation. We were driving to Portland that night, which is, like I said, 3.5 hours away. So, it was an experience, we'll say. But it was my own fault, but it was still an experience. So yeah, so we had a great time at the festival, and then we drove to Portland and we saw this place called Bob's Burgers, which was amazing. It was not themed, but it was delicious, and it was called Bob's Burgers.
It
So
was probably older than the TV show.
it probably was. It was delicious though. So if you're in Richland, outside of Richland, going into Portland, it's delicious. We spent a day in Portland. We did Voodoo Donuts, which was great. Oh my gosh, what did we do the day we were in Portland? Oh, that's when we met up with Story and Tune. There were a couple artists that I signed at TRO. And so we went and had a drink with them and met up with a girl, Natalie Price, that's also amazing that I met at Folk Alliance. So it's just like a little reunion day. Also the day that I missed my football draft, so it's fine. I still won this weekend. I had the highest score, so who's to say it's meant to be? Um, yeah, we had Buddha donuts. We went back home, and then the next morning we got up and drove to Seattle, which is another 3.5 hours, and spent the day around. We had a really nice dinner and went to this place called the Bookstore, and it's a little bar in the hotel. And we both had like I not both I had had a couple of martinis, and Caitlin was driving, so she had not. So we went and had a glass of wine before we were going back to the hotel, and we had one glass of wine, and we were just like leaving as they were closing up, and this man just gave me a bottle of wine to take home because they broke the cork. It wasn't open, the cork was just broken. I don't know. And so we had a bottle of wine. And then he's like, oh, it's called the Bookstore. Let me show you wine. And so he like takes us around, and it's just like massive amounts of books. And he just gave me a James Patterson book. And he was like, you can take this. I was like home? Like forever? And he was like, yeah, that's what we do here. I was like, I spent $16 on two glasses of wine and then got a bottle of wine and a hardcover James Patterson book. So love Seattle. Might move there. Might have found my soulmate. Who's to say?
I was like, I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure you said that when you got back from Chicago too.
well, Chicago didn't give me any free books, so I've
Fair.
now.
Fair.
Oh, I went to Powell's. That's what I did in Portland. The bookstore. It's the size of a city block, and
Yeah.
it was amazing. I bought two books there, so I came back with three books and a mug, as I do. But yeah, so it was, and then she played a featured spot as a at an open mic, and then we drove back to Portland for our last night at the hotel, 3.5 hours at 11 o'clock at night, the night before our flight, which was at morning. So it was an experience, but it was super fun. Um, I'm still tired, and I leave again Thursday, so here's to recovery, I guess.
You're going back to New York this time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
For the rest of the month.
I was like, I don't remember where you're gonna be ever.
Me either. It's fine. I texted Noelle today and her dad today and was like, hey, I fly in Thursday. That's okay, right?
Yeah.
They were like, yeah, absolutely. Noelle's like, I won't be there, but my dad, I would keep, but she's like, I won't be there. My dad will be. And he was like, yeah, you're welcome. Literally, great. Excellent.
Right.
Didn't know what I was going to do if I wasn't. So, you know.
Speaking of books, I finally finished the Game of Thrones
Game
book.
of Thrones? Oh,
But
amazing.
also I finished the Paris Deception too. I finished two books in the last 3 weeks.
I'm so proud of you.
So I am now reading Siddhartha.
So you didn't go for something a little easier.
No. I went
straight into
like existential German literature.
Right. Mm-hmm.
It's fine.
Yeah, sure. You're doing great.
To be fair, it was because I was on my way out the door and I was looking for the nonfiction book I have about Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip, and I couldn't find it, and that was on my nightstand, and I was like, well, I need a book with me, so I grabbed it, and it's short enough that I can finish it in like a week or two and then pick something less heavy.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Because with my new job, I have time to read.
What is that like?
I don't know. I'm still getting used to it. So I started school last week. And my co-teacher, like the other teachers in the ENL department just keep telling me how bored I'm gonna be, because compared to how much I was doing at St. Andrews, I literally do nothing. So
yeah,
I co-teach 3 classes, which means like I push into these other teachers' classes, 2 of which are special ed classes where the teachers have very much figured out their like shit and know what they're doing and just are grateful to have another person to help them in the room, but I'm not really like planning anything. The other one is a regular like gen ed 8th grade English class, but the teacher was Dan's 7th grade English teacher. So like she's been around the block a time or two. She knows what the fuck she's doing. So in that, it's much more of a conversation of like, what could we do to make things better? But like, I'm still not coming up with anything.
That's wild.
And then I had two of my own like classes with just my ENL students, which were both just like ENL, so like extra help with vocabulary, with like working on whatever is with the level that they're at. Until today, when we decided to change my schedule because we have some kids who are upperclassmen, like 10th and 11th graders, who came to the country while in high school and never
Mhm.
passed ninth grade English. So instead, because I'm certified to teach both English and ENL, instead of making them sit in a ninth grade class with ninth graders as like 11th graders, they're
Mhm.
taking ninth grade English with me at
That's
their
nice.
pace. So like I'm doing everything to get them the credit for the course, basically. So like I can't just like do nothing with them. I still have to very much like hit the targets of ninth grade English, but
Yeah.
we can do like we can take 2 months to do a book. And so starting tomorrow, I am teaching ninth grade English to four upperclassmen, you know, because
You got a plan? You got a plan for that already?
I do. We're starting with Romeo and Juliet, so I'm using all the stuff
Okay, sure.
that I've already been using, and I'm just adapting it to their level and their languages.
That makes sense. That makes
Yeah.
sense.
And Dan was like, "Well, you always already taught English 9 with your eighth graders," and I was like, "No,
Right.
exactly. I'm doing Romeo and Juliet, and then we're gonna do an argumentative essay, and then we're gonna do a nonfiction book. That's like what I've always done with my eighth graders. Anyway, now I
Yeah.
just have to like work at their levels as incoming, like my one student, or two of this, one of the students has literally been in the country for less than a year. Um, and one of them, her native language doesn't have a written component. So her reading and writing skills are very, very low compared to other kids because her native language is a spoken only language.
Mm.
So like
What's
it's
the language?
it's called Sosa.
Interesting.
I
Just never.
believe she is from she's from South Africa.
Mm.
And so she speaks some Zulu and some Swahili, but her language is Sosa. And so she doesn't, yeah.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so as of tomorrow, I'm teaching an English class by myself.
Great. How exciting.
But it's to four students and it's content I've already taught before and already am prepped for. So like my amount of prep and grading is still
Very low.
nothing compared to what I
Yeah.
was doing before. And I can't get onto the Wi-Fi at my school with my personal computer, which is both a blessing and a curse because no, because I can't get distracted by things or do things that I
Yeah.
don't want to be thinking about at work. But then also, I have sometimes like today where I couldn't do anything for what I needed to do for work because we were still working on these kids' schedules. And I just wanted to watch Stargate, but I couldn't.
Can you watch on your phone?
I mean, I could have watched it on my phone, but
Mm.
that's annoying.
That's what I used to do at work. I watch Stargate on my phone at work
Actually,
every
you know
day.
what? No, I don't have Amazon on my phone. I mean, I have shopping. I have
Get
shopping.
in.
I have shopping Amazon. I don't have Prime Amazon. Every day, my phone tells me you have too much on here. Delete something. You're running out of storage space. Every day. Every day, I delete things because my phone has no room. I can't download Amazon.
That's fair.
So while I'm stressed out about Amazon ruining my life, can you give me some words of encouragement?
I don't know that I can, but what you can do while I look and see is tell me when your actual classes that you have to take start.
Oh, those have both already started, technically, but they're both independent studies. So like I don't have to go to the campus at all, ever.
Well, that's
Um,
nice.
yeah. And the one is basically just my teaching hours. So I have to like journal about my teaching and
That's amazing.
have like my advisor watch me teach. And that's it. And then the other one, I basically have to like do a series of like short papers explaining how things that I have done in my grad class, like my grad classes and my teaching experience, like cover the standards of how to teach TESOL. Like, what have I done that shows like the use of diverse language in classrooms? Like, literally just like a portfolio. My classes literally one is my teaching and one is my senior portfolio, basically.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And thank you for that that
Stalling.
description.
Yeah.
Stalling, that's what I was
Yeah.
looking for. Um, never look backwards or you'll fall down the stairs. Rudyard Kipling. I
Yeah.
know. That was a good one for a 3.5 second search. So
It was. It was.
yeah.
Well,
It's important to remember. Don't look
it's,
back. Just
it's
keep
all
going.
right. Today, we're going to talk about the news. Just kidding. No, I just have a lot of news on this day, which has never happened before. I literally thought when I saw the list of news articles, I thought that I somehow was looking at an entire week. I wasn't. Like, but we're going to talk about
What day is this?
February 7th, 2003. None of them are things you've heard of before, I promise.
Okay.
Yeah, it's wild. We're talking about Stargate SG-1, season 6, episode 15, Metamorphosis. I for sure it's not episode 15, it's episode 16,
It's for
right?
sure the 16th. Yeah.
Okay, I watched episode 16. I wrote in my planner to watch episode 16. I wrote in my notebook episode 15. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Well, you got the right title of the episode, so
Right.
yeah, it's called Metamorphosis.
I have everything's correct except for the number 15.
Right. Excellent.
But to be fair, I was also listening to the My Favorite Murder episode 15 today that is called Definitely Not episode 16, where the whole time they thought they were doing the 16th episode, but they weren't. It was the 15th. So maybe that's why my brain like fucked that up.
I'm familiar with that episode. I listened to it 4 years ago.
I listened to it. I've listened to it already, but when I lost track of where I was, I restarted because I do that sometimes.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
But so it came out on February 7th, 2003, and was rated 7.1 stars, which is low, but I don't disagree with it per se.
I have feelings that I'll discuss towards the end, but I don't think I disagree with that either.
Yeah. The top song was All I Have by J-Lo and LL Cool J. I don't know the song, but I do remember a time in which J-Lo and LL Cool J were making music together, and I think that that's probably enough.
Yeah.
The top
I love like LL Cool J.
Me too. But like I watched NCIS for so long that like sometimes I forgot he's a rapper.
Oh, see, I haven't watched it yet, but that happens to me with Ice-T sometimes.
Right.
So, an Ice Cube, whichever day it is, whatever show I'm watching.
Yeah. The top book went back to being The Lovely Bones. And the top movie.
I was about to tell you my fun fact that I told you 3 weeks ago, so you don't need to know it again.
Okay. The top movie was How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days.
Best movie of all time.
Love that. And then for the news. Now, I did not go into detail about any of these things because none of them felt like things that I really wanted to know more about. But the fact that all of them happened on the same day was insane. There was a leak of a planned Patriot Act 2 that never ended up getting ratified because it was wild, the amount of security that they were trying to use.
Yeah.
Iraq announced that they were cooperating with the UN on the search for weapons of mass destruction within their borders.
2003, you said?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
The US said that they were completely ready if North Korea restarted their atomic reactor.
You know, that's not true. I don't remember this specific day and time, but can confirm that that is not true.
A car bomb in Bogota, Colombia killed 36 people. Um,
Good times.
Israeli police forces found a suicide bomber inside a mosque. Um, the George W. Bush ordered a plan to be put out to address cybersecurity.
Hmm.
An oil tanker crashed off the coast of Denmark but didn't spill any oil. A group of oh Pakistan shut down a terrorist group within the country.
I thought you were
A-
just going to say Pakistan shut down. And I was like, it tracks, I guess, with
And
everything else.
and a group of senior citizens began boycotting a drug company because the drug company stopped selling their drugs to Canadian companies that were selling cheap drugs to the US.
Was it Eli Lilly?
It was not. It was
Mm.
GlaxoSmithKline or whatever.
Ah,
Yeah, it's like the biggest drug company in the UK, and they stopped giving Canadians who were cheaply selling Americans drugs access to drugs.
fuck.
All of that happened on the same Friday.
And apparently something else happened because I don't remember any of that.
I mean, to be fair, I was 11. I don't remember much.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
But I pulled up the news, the page of like things that happened on this day, and I was like, am I looking at a week? And then I was like, nope, literally everything on here says February 7th. So it was a wild Friday. But also How to Lose a
Was.
Guy in 10 Days came out that day, so maybe that's why we don't remember
So that's
anything.
why we don't know anything about
Yeah,
anything else.
for sure. It's the curse of Matthew McConaughey.
The curse or the blessing. I don't know what you're talking about.
Um, this episode was directed by Peter DeLuise. Um, the story was written by Jacqueline Samuda, and the teleplay was also written by Jacqueline Samuda and James Teichner. And our guest star was also Jacqueline Samuda. So that's why I said all of those before I gave you any information about her.
I thought we might be getting
Yeah,
something
yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
She's mostly known as being an actor, but she did write the story and play Nearty. And when I tell you it took me 20 minutes to figure out, I could have sworn that we had definitely already talked about Nearty before. We did
We
not.
haven't seen her though, have we? Like her
We haven't. The
person
last
form?
No, we have. The last episode we saw
Hmm.
her in was the one where Cassandra tried to go back to the other
Oh, right.
planet. But turns out that episode we had to talk about Cassandra because that was a new
Mm.
actress who played Cassandra.
Right, right, right.
So I have never talked about Nair before. So
Well, this is
weird.
the one, I guess,
This is the
then.
one. She was born in Ottawa and went to school at York University. She lives and works in Vancouver in the film industry. She is taught at the University of British Columbia. She does a lot of stuff, but she does literally not really do anything outside of that little world. Um, she's, I didn't write what she was known for. Oh, yes, I did. For Stargate, the L Word, and When Sparks Fly. So, you know, not anything really exciting. I've never seen the L Word.
I haven't either.
Um, but yeah, but mostly it's just amazing that somehow I had three new names, but they were all actually just the same person. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
We start this episode with Sam getting on an elevator to find Jonas flirting with a woman.
That was kind of cute.
It was adorable. And he wants Sam to be his wingwoman, but their whole playful interaction gets interrupted by an unscheduled off-world activation. And it turns out the Russian team, because as you remember, we now have Russians working in the SG-1 or in the
Right.
SGC. The Russian team is back early and requesting medical attention. So they let him in, and they bring back an alien without prior authorization. So nobody's real happy about that. His
They are
name
not
is
very good at the roles.
no. His name is Alabran, and he says Nirti is experimenting on his people. And then we get the credits. Yeah. So, I don't remember the Russian guy's name. I know his first name is Sergey, and then other than this one not time where I wrote Sergey, the rest of my notes have him referred to as Lieutenant Russian.
Well, that's okay. I just kept calling them the Russians because I don't know his
Yeah.
name.
Um, I feel like in respect of his untimely demise, I should know his name, but I literally just called him Lieutenant Russian the whole time.
That's
Um,
okay.
but so after the credits, Sergei, Lieutenant Russian, apparently promised this man that he would help him because of Nerti. So Janet takes him to the isolation room for testing. Um, oh, Ivanov. It's not that difficult, but doesn't
Like
matter.
your stereotypical Russian last
Yeah.
name.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, so Sergey tells us that Alabran found them while they were like after they were doing recon of Nerti's fortress. Alabran tells them that Nerti put his people in a machine that basically altered their DNA and they died in like really awful ways. And he thought she was saving them, but he went back to his village and everybody in the village was also dead. And we figured out this does, in fact, very much fit Nerti's MO, but like a little more aggressive than we've seen her so far.
Right.
They're like, it's bad enough that she was using eugenics to create perfect people. Now she's like actually medically altering them to be perfect. So like,
Yeah.
not a good time. Um, and so they ask for Alabran's help, like getting to her, but he freaks out, says he will not be going back to the planet, is starts to like literally lose his mind, and then explodes into water droplets in one of the most upsetting things I've ever seen on Stargate.
I for sure thought he was drowning from the inside. That is what I thought was happening.
Yeah.
And then it was an
Every
explosion.
cell in his body decayed at once into water.
Yeah. Wild. Wild.
So SG-1 gets ready to go out to the planet, and the Russian team is going with them because they're the only ones who have done recon so far. And Jack is not happy about it, but Hammond is like, get it together. Like, um, we need to work with them or they're gonna just try to shut us down again. Like,
Right.
so they head there and they make their way out toward the fortress. And they're going down this path. Carter and Jonas act as a diversion for the Jaffa and they play C4 everywhere. They take everybody out and they go inside and leave the Russians to stand guard. Um, SG-1 finds more of Alabran's people and they are in rough looking shape. Um,
They looked like a creature that I've seen in a different show that I couldn't remember what it was.
I think they look like Sloth from the Goonies.
That's the one.
Okay.
That's the one I was thinking.
That's
Yep.
um fun fact, Woden, the main one, is played by the same guy who plays Chaka.
Oh.
And Lieutenant Tyler, the imaginary alien
Hmm.
member of SG-1. Yeah.
Yeah, you did say he would keep coming back.
Yeah. I was laughing. I was like, oh, Dion's in this one. And mom was like, what? I go, he's in everything. He's just 99% of the time an alien that you can't see his
Unrecognizable.
face.
Yeah.
Yes. So
Yeah.
he was Woden.
Nice. Nice.
And Woden says they don't need SG-1's help because Nirti is helping them. Yeah.
Absolutely not.
So they he shows them the machine and tells them that like Alabran once used to look like them too, but she saved him. She made him okay again. They were like, what the fuck is happening here?
Mhm.
But Woden and his people really don't like what SG-1 has to say. They're really upset that there's animosity toward Nearty, and they like don't believe them that she could ever do anything to hurt them.
Yeah, they are not having it.
Um, Sam checks out the machine and she says she has no idea what it is, but it's clearly made by the ancients, and there's no way she's going to figure it out without Nearty's help.
I get it. She's probably not wrong, but that just feels very risky.
Right. Um, Egger, who is the other main Reacher person, accuses Jack of trying to kill Nearty, and that also says that SG-1's only there because they're actually responsible for the plague that killed the people. What?
Yeah. They're
So,
responsible in the sense that they didn't kill Nirti yet, and Nirti got to these people. But otherwise,
which we know Jack still harbors guilt about the time he let Nearty go.
yeah,
So if Jack is feeling guilty, it's because he feels like is responsible for Nearty hurting
right.
them. Um, Jack goes to talk to Lieutenant Russian and fill him in on what's happening. And he's like, have you talked to any of the other people that are in there? Because they're kind of fucking weird. And Sergey's like, no. He's like, okay, cool. This is. Um, but inside, Woden uses the Force to steal all of the weapons and lock Jonas and Teal'c in a cage. Okay, it turns out that he actually just has telekinesis. But in that moment, I was like, oh, that's
For
the
sure.
Force.
Yeah, yeah. I absolutely thought the same thing. I was like, when did we start getting these kind of powers? Like, what is happening?
Um, Sam is like trying to get help with the machine. She's like, Jonas, you're smarter than I am sometimes, weirdly. Um, please help me, but no one's answering their radio. Like, and then Jack also can't get a hold of Sergey. Like, he's like, what's happening? Um, so two Jaffa arrive, and Sam takes them out. And here's where my first major problem with this episode comes. Because then Nearty, who was invisible, reappears in Zat Sam. And I would just like to point out that just 2 episodes ago, we had an entire episode centered around the idea that Nirti had a device that could make her invisible. And then not once in 20 minutes did we think maybe Nirti is still on the planet. She's just fucking invisible.
Right. Yeah.
I understand that quite often there are convenient plot holes. And if we had forgotten for a season and a half or so about Nirti's invisibility power, I would
Sure.
probably let it slide.
Yeah.
But we just did this.
We just talked about it. Yeah. Maybe it's because it's a different person writing it.
Yeah, Nirti. She wrote it herself.
Maybe she wanted to make herself seem more stealthy.
Yeah. Sometimes I really want to ask Rick, what happened? Because the number of times that as executive producer, he stepped in and said Jack would never do that and made them change the scripts. And then just like forgot the canon of the show.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure it was for convenience. But
So then near T, or then Jack comes to find Sam, and near T is like, I don't think you understand. I am helping them. Like I'm making them better. And Jack tries to shoot one of the Jaffa, and Woden Force stops the bullet. And so she zats Jack too. And he wakes up to everyone in the cell.
Yep.
So then they figure out that Nirti's actually just like making these people into her own private X-Men collection. Um, and that the reason Edgar was so convinced of what Jack was thinking was because he is telepathic.
So they have telekinesis and telepathy.
Well, one has telekinesis, one has telepathy. So she's just like,
Mm-hmm.
that's why it's like her own, like, that's why I think it's her own private X-Men. She's
Yeah,
just like
that makes
bestowing
sense.
powers.
Mhm.
You get a power, you get a power. I will never look at Oprah the same.
No. No.
With um, so Jack is like, hey, everyone, here, help us. And no one does. Surprise?
Right.
Um,
Right.
So Woden shows up and he has Lieutenant Ivanov and he drops him off and takes Sam. And Ivanov clearly like is fucked up. Um, and Jack is like, please just listen to me. Like, I'm not trying to mess with you. I really do want to save you. And Edgar's like, I really thought that you meant that. But I know that you would sacrifice every single one of us to kill Nirti.
He would this time.
And Jack has to take a second and have a good hard think about
Reflection.
about himself in that moment. But then Nirti puts Sam in the machine, which is not a good time.
Mm-hmm.
And while this is happening, Lieutenant Ivanov is telling them that he was in the machine and he doesn't know what happened, but he is different. He does not feel like the same human.
Yeah.
So then they finish with Sam, and Nirti is like, all right, now I want the one they call Jonas because Nirti has not met Jonas yet. This is all new.
New and exciting.
So Jonas then tries to attack Edgar, and Woden overpowers him. And so it shows that there is a little chink in the armor, and that either Woden, or sorry, Edgar doesn't have as much control of his ability to read minds, or he has exactly enough control to choose whose mind to read and who's not
Right.
to. Like, he's not like Edward Cullen, who's just constantly hearing every thought that filters past him.
Yeah, this isn't Twilight.
No. So Nirti is talking to Jonas and she's like, you're not a human. And he's like, yes, I am. I'm just not from Earth. Like, so she puts him in the machine and she's like, yeah, your DNA is not human, bud.
Not quite right.
Not quite. And back down in the cell, Teal'c's trying to communicate with the others, but no one is listening. They all still think of Nirti as a god. And they're starting to question why Edgar can't read Nirti's mind. Like, is it because he chooses not to, or because she's done something to like protect herself? But as they're trying to talk about it, Sam and Lieutenant Ivanov are in like rough shape. And Lieutenant Ivanov
We do get a moment of cuteness where Jack tells her
to take a rest and she like falls asleep on his shoulder.
so
But which is very cute. They didn't play the Jack and Sam love theme underneath it.
They sure didn't.
They sure didn't.
I noticed that.
And I was a little sad about it, but it was because that very abruptly got ruined by Lieutenant Russian also exploding into water puddles.
Yeah. That was immediately happened after. But
yeah. Could you imagine the jump from like the love theme to like aggressive water explosion?
Explosion. Yeah, no. Mm-mm.
Um, so Jonas wakes up in Nirti's bed and she's
This,
like,
where are my notes? I had notes on this.
oh, good.
Oh, no, it was, I just think she wants to sleep with him.
Yeah. She is like, you're so much closer to being the perfect Huktar than everyone else. You and I are gonna,
Which I am glad the Russians did not know what the Hoktar meant, because I
yeah.
also did not know until I didn't remember.
Um, but she's like,
So,
you're already, and then I gotta give Jonas credit for the way he played that. He's like, yeah, like that sounds like a great idea. I would love to have that much power. And then I would use it to destroy you and save my friend, or
mhm.
to save my friends and destroy you. Maybe not in that
Not in that
order.
order. Yeah.
I was like, um, and so she obviously freaks out and sends him back into the cell. And SG-1, the whole team, tries to convince Edgar and Woden that Mirti's lying to them. And they're like, you have to read her mind. You have to see what's really in there. And they're like, you don't,
Hmm.
they're like, she's our God. You can't do that. And he was like, if she's really your God, if she's really trying to help you, you'll see that. But like, we're that.
But
So,
just in case.
just in case, yeah. So Edgar, and Woden take Jack upstairs. It's his turn to be in the machine. And they look, and Edgar looks into Nirti's mind and realizes that Jack was telling the truth the whole time. And
It was
that
Agatha all along.
it was Agatha all along. And then finds out that Alab what is it? Alaban? What's that poor kid's name? Who died?
Alabaran?
Alabran.
Albaran.
Alabran. Just
Albaran.
I will say sometimes they come up with weird ass alien names, but my favorite was at the beginning when Jack was like, "Oh, probably different Alabran." You know, it's a real common
Yeah.
name.
Extremely
Um,
common. It's fine.
and so he's like, "She did kill Alabran," like, and Woden freaks the fuck out.
Oh my God. Took a no tact there. It was like, yeah, your bro's dead. Like,
Right,
I was like, maybe take it another step.
right.
Well,
And they're like, um, and Jack's like, please don't kill her. Please, we need her. Otherwise, nobody else will get saved. Please, God. And
yeah.
he just kills her
Just
anyway.
anyways. Yep.
And Jack's like, cool. I appreciate the need for vengeance. Like, I do. I get it. I feel you. But the love of my life is going to die in a puddle of water.
And that's gonna be really sad and unfortunate.
And Edgar's like, but don't worry, because when I read her mind, I took all the information I needed to take to use the machine.
Yeah.
So
Good
they
for him,
say,
but way to like hide the ball.
right, yeah, definitely buried the lead on that one.
Yeah.
They decide, like, they save Sam, and they decide that they're going to save all of their people. And SG-1 is all ready. They're like, listen, like, you guys can go back to your village once you're all healed. We'll help you. We'll get you food and supplies. We'll, like, work with you, and we'll get you guys, like, set back up. And
Hmm.
then when everything's settled, maybe we can come back and study the machine. And they're like, yeah, so about that, we're gonna blow it up.
We're
And
gonna kill
Sam
Nerty. We're gonna blow up the machine.
and Sam
No
really
research here.
Sam like really tries to argue. She's like, but and Jack's like, maybe let's just let them have this fun. Just
Yeah.
mm,
They've been through a lot today.
yeah, just today. Um and Also, there is an unnecessary number of Wizard of Oz references at the end of this episode, which is not the first time, and it will not be the last.
That's amazing.
I don't know why
It's
Stargate
Rick's
just
favorite movie.
it, it is, but I think so because let me tell you, this does not die. This Wizard of Oz motif, it will not die
I love
at
it.
all. So, how you feeling? What are your thoughts?
So I agree with this lower rating
Yeah.
because I felt like this was kind of a cop out way to get rid of Nirti. Like she's been kind of overbearing
Mm-hmm.
this whole time. Like, I mean, we had her in the beginning, even before we like saw her, we heard about her.
Did we
And then
kill
we
did we kill Osiris yet?
I don't think
I
so.
don't
I
think
don't
so.
think so.
Okay.
But like we heard about her before we ever saw her. She was one of the
Mhm.
first big bads we heard about. So like
Yeah.
first 10 episodes, I think. It was first season for sure. And
Yeah.
then, we see her a couple times and apparently, even though I've forgotten, but we have all of this like invisibility
Yeah,
technology
the
and
the
all these
first
things.
remember the first time we see Nirti is when Nirti and you and Kronos are on base to make the pact, and then Nirti uses
Right.
her invisible technology and fucks with everybody, and Kronos and you banish her from being part of the Goa'uld.
But we had heard about her before
Before that,
then.
yeah.
Like, so she's this big, overbearing, overpowering, like big bad that we've heard about all this time. And all of a sudden, like, she just dies. And
But
like, I get like,
she kind of is, but she kind of isn't. Like she's somebody that's out there that's doing fucked up shit that has like a
right.
megalomaniac goal. But I really wouldn't call her a big bad because she's never had any power.
She hasn't, but I also feel like she's had so much contention specifically with Stargate that I wish
Because of
they would have kind
Cassandra.
of, right, that I kind of wish they would have been the ones to, one, learn about the technology more and end her. Whereas I guess in the arc of storytelling, it is Kismet that Woden killed her because it's
Yeah,
his people that have been ruined and cursed and whatnot. But I don't know. I wish it was a little differently done, but it's
that's
not
fair.
terrible.
Yeah.
So
I have a couple pieces of trivia.
excellent.
One is
Excellent.
that Woden is actually another name for Odin, the father
Oh,
of
I like that
Thor.
one. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Obviously this is not the father of Thor,
Correct.
but um so Alibrand was actually supposed to like legitimately explode. Like not turn into water, like legitimately explode.
Like
And
what's it called? Um,
like spontaneous combustion.
yes, thank you.
And when they did the CGI trial of that, Joseph Malozzi was like, that is too icky. We can't do it. It's gross. He literally used the word icky. He was like, I can't.
That's amazing.
Um, so then they did the water instead. But can I tell you, I still think the water is one of the ickiest things that Stargate's ever done.
It's icky too. Like it's very strange. And like I guess there's no like blood and guts or whatever, but
Right.
it's
But could you
just
imagine
something.
if it had been blood and guts and like chunks of human?
Ugh, gross. No, absolutely not.
But despite that, that was actually not Malozzi's least favorite thing that he saw in this episode. His least favorite was Nirti's attempted seduction of Jonas. He thought it was the most awkward thing he'd ever seen on TV.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of chemistry. That is true. That is true.
Like she
Bless
like
his heart.
changed her outfit into like a push-up bra and was like trying so hard and it was just so uncomfy.
It was not working, yeah.
He literally like said that it was like basically like Mrs. Robinson in The Graduate. It was like not okay.
That is hilarious. God, I love Jomo.
Yeah. So that's my trivia. Do you have any thoughts, theories, um predictions?
Well, since you mentioned it, maybe Osiris will come back this season.
I really
Um,
just can't remember the last time we saw her.
oh God, 1,000 years ago. Nearty's gone, so we're totally switching storylines. What episode are we in? 17? We'll probably get something that doesn't make any sense and isn't connected to anything next episode. So there's no way for me to know.
Well, I'm gonna tell you that that's not true, actually.
What a day. What a
Um,
day.
it's not good, but it does
Mm,
connect to other things we've seen. Next week's episode is the lowest of the season.
Woohoo.
It is not great.
I am so stoked. Cannot wait.
Yeah. But it does have a character that we hate.
That wasn't a pro. I don't know if you know how that works. But when you say but, it should contradict the other things you said.
Yeah, no, it's the lowest scoring episode and lowest rated episode of the season, and it also features very prominently one of our least favorite characters of the show. So,
Excellent.
it
Kensington.
well, that's not his name, but yes,
What's his name?
Senator Kinsey.
Kens-
Kensington.
What?
Yes,
Whatever.
it is a Senator Kinsey episode.
Ugh,
But we
moron.
have had a couple like politicky episodes this season, so that's why I'm saying it does actually connect to a lot of
It
this
does
season.
connect.
That's not a good thing necessarily, but it
Ugh.
does.
Well, I am ready, I guess, for that.
So, who do you want to punch?
This is gonna sound a little harsh, but I'm gonna punch Woden because he
Uh,
just kind of annoyed me throughout. And I get like he was trying to protect his people and didn't know any better, and then he killed Nirti to protect everyone, yada yada.
yeah,
But God, if he would have just got it together a little sooner,
for sure.
like
And that's fair, and I agree and I understand. I will be punching Nirti.
yeah, sure, yeah.
She does suck just in general. But
Mhm, mhm.
also I will never get past her attempted, like her borderline licking Jonas's face, um, in
Yeah,
attempts
yeah.
to seduce him. So,
Totally fair, totally fair.
um, who's your MVP?
Jonas. He just killed it this episode.
I agree. Jonas is pretty great this episode. Jonas would have been my first choice, but my second choice is going to be Jack. Not
Mhm.
really because of saving the team per se, but because he saves everyone by genuinely reflecting on the way he feels about things and what he deems uh what's the word I'm looking for?
Like morally
Yeah,
right.
there's a word for when you don't something is collateral, like what he deemed.
Mm, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, like what is worth,
What's worth the sacrifice,
and
basically?
yeah, like what
Yeah.
what is that fucking word?
Look, you've had to tell me like 4 words tonight. I'm not sure I'm the person to be asking. But I do know what you're talking about though.
Yeah, I'm gonna Google it because I genuinely
Okay.
word something is worth sacrificing. Um, no, I don't mean offering.
Mm,
Yeah, no, I'm not coming up with it. It's gonna piss me off.
no.
It'll be like halfway through the Hannibal episode, and I'll just shout a word at you.
Okay,
So
can't wait. That's gonna be super
stay
exciting
tuned.
for
Stay
me.
tuned for Thursday when I fucking think of this word. Um, but also stay tuned for Thursday for our Hannibal episode, and I will just tell you right now, I don't know what to say.
That's okay. I
So,
have some things to say. So
if you have things to say, um, email us at deathandaliens@gmail.com or follow us on all of the social media at deathandaliens. You can find me at ENKAY_superstar.
and you can find me at CE Cloud 13.
We will see you later. Bye.